When I was 16 years old, I was the type of kid that had everything handed to me. From having the newest shoes, the nicest shirts, all my doctor's appointments being made for me, everything was done for me. You see, my mom, she made sure of that. But my life changed when I found out that my mom had a terminal form of brain cancer and was given 3 months to live. So 3 months came and 3 months went, and before you knew it, my mother had passed away and I was living with my father, who very quickly decided he didn't want to be a father. I ran away. I decided I didn't want to live there. And I bounced around for quite a bit of time before I ended up living with my grandparents in Boca Raton, Florida. While I was living there, I wasn't necessarily going down a good path. I was doing drugs, and I wasn't going to school, and I wasn't living up to my full potential. But then one day it clicked, you see. I realized that I was destined for more. So I picked up my phone, and I called my aunt and uncle in Westchester, New York, and I told them how I felt. And they graciously told me that they would adopt me and they would take me in. But they told me that I'd have a lot of things to learn, but they'd always provide food and shelter, but the rest, it would be on me. I heard opportunity knocking, so I took it. I moved to Westchester, New York, and I'll never forget writing my college essay. Because when I wrote my college essay, I wrote this sentence. I said, if change is good, then I have a lot of good. I was the new guy in every situation. New friends, new family, and a new life. And in retrospect, boy, I was right. But when I moved to Westchester, I knew that change was in store for me, and I knew I needed to work to get what I needed to do. So the first thing I did was get a job. I worked at a local convenience store where I would make deals with the owner of the store, where for every client that would come in, I would try to upsell them and sell them a lighter. I told him that if I sold a lighter to X amount of people, he would give me a raise on my hourly salary. I achieved that. But I wasn't happy because I was making decent money, but I felt like I needed to do more. So I got a second job. And I worked at a local pizza place where I was delivering pizzas and I was making cash. Things were okay. But I was never a good student in school, you see, but I knew that I needed that piece of paper to credentialize my dreams and reach my full potential. So I decided to attend SUNY Oswego. But the fear that I felt signing my name on the dotted line to accept all that debt was paralyzing. But I knew that I needed to do it in order to move forward, right? Because that's what we have to do. Fast forward a bit into my college career. I'm at SUNY Oswego, and I'm working 5 jobs. I worked at the Alumni Association, where I would cold call previous alumni to help generate money for our university. In addition to that, I was working for an advertising company selling space to local businesses in the Oswego community on a radio station. And even in addition to that, I was working for a textbook startup where I would sell textbooks at the beginning and the end of every semester to everybody. You see, it was through my working journey where I realized something. I was pretty good at sales, and I wanted to pursue it. But how? And I realized that my ultimate goal became that I wanted to work 1 job and make enough money to get by and not 5 jobs. And this time in my life was so pivotal because this is where I learned the value of the dollar. And the value of the dollar is making it go far enough while maximizing your time. And I wasn't doing that. So one day, I'm sitting in my dorm room at SUNY Oswego, and I go on my computer and I go on LinkedIn and I apply to 100 different internships. Only one company called me. It was one of the largest insurance companies in the entire country, and they said to me, Austin, we want to make you a summer intern. We'll pay you $22 an hour. And after all I had overcome, hearing the words $22 an hour, it was a no-brainer. I took the job. So when I came home from school that year and began my internship with this company, I very quickly realized, though, that I wasn't learning the business, you see. What I was learning was really nothing. I was just cold calling all day, looking to qualify and generate leads for successful agents in the office to then close. But I was making a lot of money, so I wasn't complaining. They'd asked me to return for a second year. So when I came home from college that year, and I returned back to this company, I was nearing the end of my internship for the second year, and I was getting so tired of cold calling every day. I was getting ready to go back to SUNY Oswego, where I was going to be the president of my fraternity. This was the position I longed for, all I ever wanted. Well, I guess I felt this wave of confidence because 2 weeks before the end of my internship, I had asked my manager if I could go ahead and shadow another rep in my office for the day. She said no. However, the #1 agent in Connecticut at the time overheard me asking this question and said, Austin, I'll give you a shot. Why don't you come with me today? Of course I will. So we went and tabled for insurance. And I guess it went well because the next day when I walked into the office, this agent and my manager sat me down and they changed my life. They said, Austin, we want to offer you a very unique opportunity. We want to make you a full-time sales associate where you'll work on this agent's team and you'll be able to generate business, you'll get licensed, and you'll be able to make something yourself in this industry. Now, I don't know if you heard that, but that was opportunity knocking yet again. And this time I was going to kick the door in. So I agreed, but there were fears because I was supposed to go back to college, be president of my fraternity, and they very, very quickly reassured me, Austin, we're sending you back to college. Here's where it gets unique. We're going to make you the first person in our company's history to ever be a remote sales associate and work full-time while you're in college. So I took it. I went back to college. I stepped down as president of my fraternity because I saw what was in front of me. This was everything I ever wanted, right? One job, and and by the way, I was going to be making $55,000 a year as a full-time college student. Pretty wild. Even in this room right now, that's pretty wild. So I sit there, and I stepped down as president of my fraternity because of what I saw the potential was for this. This was the fast track to my goals and everything I wanted to do. So when I stepped down as president of my fraternity, I set up an office in my dorm room at SUNY Oswego right above the bars that we would go to with all of my friends every single night. I was literally selling insurance when I wasn't in class, and then when I wasn't selling insurance or in class, I was at the bars below my house. It was crazy. I was learning so much, and I was getting good. See, that was so crazy. I was learning from one of the all-time greats. Well, fast forward a bit. I graduate from college, and I return home. I continued with this company, and eventually I approached my manager, and I said, I'm ready to go out on my own. Let me fly. She said no. But this time, I had the confidence. I said, I'm ready, and either you're going to give me this opportunity to do this here with you, or I'm going to go do this somewhere else. She reluctantly agreed and gave me the opportunity to be my own agent. My first day as an agent was February 1st of 2020. I had one referral partner, a far cry from where you want to be in this industry. And in retrospect, she was right. I wasn't ready. But here's the difference between me and the normal person. When my back's against the wall, I fight. And fight I did. So I'm making a name for myself. I'm getting pretty good at this. And then March 6th of 2020, this thing called COVID happened. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. So I'm sitting in my condo in Stamford, Connecticut, locked down, trying to think of, because this was an obvious step backwards. So I'm thinking of creative ways to generate business, to generate successful referral partners that will want to work with me. But then it clicked. I realized that social media was the opportunity. Everybody in my industry wasn't using it, but I was going to be the guy that was. So I started using the hashtag Austin the Insurance Guy, as you see behind me. And after I started doing that, things started to work for me. So what I did was I took my friend Max, who's here in the audience, and we went to Brooklyn in the heart of the pandemic, and we bought a green screen off Facebook Marketplace that drops from the ceiling. And I would start making these videos, Fast Facts with Austin the Insurance Guy. Well, before you know it, I was making a name for myself. These videos were catching on, and I was looking super credible on social media, which is important. But then I started thinking, I want more. I want to be better. I'm not doing good enough. So I decided to rethink this a little. I continued using Austin the Insurance Guy, but I launched Glazer Conversations. And Glazer Conversations was a podcast. And it was a podcast designed to highlight successful individuals, and then I would share it on my platform, and then internally, it was for me to then share their story in hopes they'd become a referral partner with me. Well, guys, that's what put me on the map and launched me to superstardom. But because before I knew it, I had passed my mentor in 11 months as #1 in the state of Connecticut. I was killing it. In that same span of 11 months, thanks. In that same span of 11 months, I also went on to become the countrywide Rookie of the Year out of 5,000 agents. Pretty cool achievement. and especially from all I've overcome, but it gets better. So I kept grinding. I kept working my ass off. And before I knew it, I was number 9 in the country out of 15,000 agents. Austin, the insurance guy, was an established brand. And not only was it an established brand, it was making me money. I was doing great things. But the thing is, I built Austin, the insurance guy, to this established brand, but when you work for a big company, they don't want you to build your own brand. They want you to build the brand of under them. So we had significant creative differences. And I started to lose my spark. There's a very famous WWE wrestler, Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. And he once said, "I lost my smile." That's what happened to me. I lost my smile. I started to hate where I worked. And I started to learn and realize that it's not all about money, right? I was 24 years old, making over $500,000 a year, but I couldn't care any less about the money because I went from being the kid who loved his job, wanted nothing less than being there every single day, to wanting nothing more than to not be there. You see, it was at this time in my life that I learned money is not the root of all happiness. Happiness is what the true root of all happiness is. So I always had this thought in the back of my mind, and the thought was, I want to create and launch my own independent insurance agency. But the fear of the unknown is paralyzing, as I'm sure so many of you probably have felt before. But then I realized something, right? No matter how scary it is, fear is better than hatred. And I started to hate what I'd become. I lost my mental health, and I wasn't happy. So you know what I said? I said, fuck it. And I liquidated my whole 401k, my stock portfolio, and a bunch of other assets, and I launched Safe Shield Insurance. And let me tell you something. Safe Shield Insurance will be one of the largest insurance brokerages in the entire country, and you can count on that. And I'm telling it here first. You know, I stand here before you today a little bit different than the kid who used to have to make deals with the owner of a convenience store to get a raise, or the kid who was adopted, or the kid who used to have everything given to him. I stand here before you today, someone with a ton of confidence and the belief in myself to take a chance, because that's what you need to do. You know, it's funny. I have never told my story on stage before, but this is me. This is who I am. You see, Austin Glazer learned the value of the dollar, and then he learned that money was not the root of all happiness. And then he learned to believe in himself. And it was all in that order. You see, because if it wasn't in that order, I wouldn't be on this stage telling you my story right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I plead with you. If there's something you want to do, take the chance. Nobody is going to tell you to do it. You need to do it on your own. Complacency is the best friend of the devil, and if you let the devil win, you lose. Now listen. I want to end this by saying, if I can do this, you can do this. Because that's how I went from being undesirable to ungoddamn deniable.